I think there is an opportunity with web games and with mobiles. Mobile is complicated because it's actually technically really complicated. Mobile on paper seems like the obvious format to do small games on. The difficulty is you have 360 different handsets to support. All they need to go through QA in every language with every operator. So just in terms of pure builds, it becomes a nightmare. So it's small to start, but the actual technical, because you know, 2/3 of your budget on making a mobile game is doing the conversions to handsets, not the origination. So there's a lot of technical problems with that. I think, like they're talking about the Xbox 360 stuff, that is an opportunity to do smaller stuff. Also, Java games, PC kind of stuff. If you find the right niche, and if you wanted to build something from scratch, and if you wanted to do it via a website, then that's possible. What you then need to do is find a way of getting your website marketed so people actually know your games are there. So the problems we all encounter as games makers is, in a nutshell, making the game and designing it, which is the easy bit for us because we've all done it for a long time. Then it's getting it signed to a publisher so it's funded whilst you're developing it. And the third process is getting an outlet so it can be retailed and people will buy it. And actually you need all three elements in place before you can really move. So in terms of getting it to the market, yeah, the live environment or the environment on the PC, we've not got the proof like Archer was saying of Sony or Microsoft or someone else getting in your own blocking stuff. Gives you the opportunity. But the biggest difference, people are just going back, someone asked about the difference between now and in the past. The word is consoles. Since consoles have come in, they've shortly followed up by approval of manufacture of console. So it's not a free market. We do not make games in a free market anymore. We make a game for Sony, for a PlayStation. It's got to be approved by Sony in Europe, to be published in Europe. You need a separate approval by Sony in the US, and sometimes a separate one in Japan as well. So the advantage of the PC, and maybe the mobile market, is that you can just make a game and put it out there, which we used to be able to do on the Spectrum, on the Commodore 64, on the Amstrad, on the Amiga, on the ST, and all those old machines. That's why there's been this big change. We're no longer controlling what goes out there, we are being controlled. That is why, one thing I want to write about the guys running Blitz, you know, they're very brave to run a company of 150 people, and they're very successful at it. And they're one of the few independent companies in this country of that size still surviving. So these are the guys to listen to about how you actually run a games company commercially now, because virtually everyone else has failed or wanted the ball in the last 2 or 3 years.
Just being realistic, actually.
And a buttload of work.
Sorry about that. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, whilst we are kind of successful, it's not. We don't actually get a chance to even design games, get close to games. Quite often, games can go out, dare I say, without me even playing it. But there just aren't enough hours in the day, which is a bit sad because I actually got into the industry because I love games and I love designing games and I think I can give some input, but there just aren't enough hours in the day. I don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, and I was just looking around for Chris. Chris, there he is. How long do people want to do some more questions? Do we want to move into the presentation? We'll do one more question, because this man here has got a question. Then we'll take a 5-minute break. Anybody who wants to go, that'll be fine. Then Andrew's going to do his presentation about what is the difference between 8-bit games and Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games. And then after that we'll do a short break again, and we'll come on to the prizes for the Retro Games competition, where we can see who's won the Xbox 360, the PSP and the DS. So, last question. You're saying what's the proudest moment for each of us in our careers, pretty much? I can't hear, right? Yes. Right, okay, over the years, what's the thing you're most proud of? Here we go. Andy!
Thank you, me first. It was on the spot. Getting Magic Carpet running on the PlayStation and Saturn was quite a feat. probably, I don't know, probably Dungeon Keeper on the PC. Although everybody seems to remember Theme Hospital much more than it, I think Dungeon Keeper was something that couldn't happen anymore. I don't think it's more of a kind of toy and an experiment in programming and seeing what you can do with just a man idea. That's probably it.
Right, I'm going to just go round the group so I get a chance. I was just trying to think of what mine were. One good... Oh, there you go, Dizzy. That was quite good. I knocked some of those graphics up, sorry. Yeah, Dizzy was pretty cool. The funny thing is about Dizzy, if you don't mind me saying, because we have got some fans, is that when the first game was actually done, Codemasters, Richard and David Darling, pretty much, they didn't think much of it. It was okay, we didn't really think much of it. It was put out partly because we were just producing games, putting them out, because you couldn't in those days. Nobody really had to assess how good it was. And it sold okay. But one thing we did notice was we got an awful lot of fan letters turn up at Codemasters, people raving how good it was. It didn't actually make it into the charts, it wasn't selling particularly well, but the fan letters just kept going. So it was about 9 or 10 months later, which is for us about 6 or 7 games later, that we thought, oh, let's go back and do another Dizzy. That was Treasure Island Dizzy. And when we did Treasure Island Dizzy, it just went ballistic. It went straight to #1 instantly. It sold about 100,000 copies in the first weekend, and Cody's couldn't duplicate it fast enough. What we're actually convinced happened was that everybody who bought the original Dizzy just went out first weekend and bought the sequel. And of course, that's why we did more Dizzies. So there was a Dizzy moment, that was very good. More recently, we're very, very proud of Glover. Glover was compared everywhere with Mario 64. It came out a few months after Mario 64, and it was a top game. Unfortunately, there were lots of politics behind the scene as to why there was never another Glover come out. There was Glover 2, it got to Alpha. Unfortunately, Hasbro didn't make it. And the other proud moment, I'm sorry, I'm grabbing this one, is a few years ago, Fusion Frenzy. Fusion Frenzy is one bloody cool game, and we were chuffed to bits when Microsoft commissioned us to do it. Then they told us it was going to be a launch title, and then we mastered it on time, and we were the only people to master on time. Everybody else, like Halo and people, in fact Halo was accused of being 2 weeks late because they were too busy playing Fusion Frenzy on their dev kits. We mastered on time, and it was the very, very first game on the Xbox, and I still think it's a stonking game because it's just instantly playable. Over to Archer. Oh, and by the way, Mercury was bloody good on PSP, and one of my favourite games. So he has still got it.
That's a very proud moment, thank you very much. Yeah, I can think of a lot of proud moments, but one thing that's always good is seeing a good review. When you get like 25% or something like that, makes you think you've done the right thing. But I can think of one very unusual moment. 1979, which is before we were born, I bought an Atari 800 and a game called Star Raiders, but I bought the machine because the game was so good. And 13 years later, I lived here in London, showing off Human Rights 1. A security guard who was about 100 years old came up to me and said, what is that game? What do I have to get? What machine do I have to buy to play that game? And when he said that, I knew I'd cracked it, because maybe he was having the same emotions I had back in 1979, and I thought that was pretty good. So,
I had some very memorable moments in the mid-80s with a lot of the C64 stuff, but I have a very strange moment in, I guess it was the early 90s when the Sega Genesis came out. This is a true story that in those days I used to write 68,000 Z80 code to get all the sound system working. And Sega themselves, Sega of America, were having a lot of trouble trying to get it to work. They couldn't get the sound system to work because there was some kind of DMA bug between the Z80 and the 68,000. So they came crawling to EA to get me to use all the code that I'd written so they could publish Joe Montana Football. So nobody actually knows that it was me who did Joe Montana Football audio for that game.
Well, I could tell you about the things I'm not proud of, but I can see people taking videos here, so I won't. I mean, I've been very, very lucky because I work with some fantastic developers. And I've got a list as long as your arm really of things I'm proud of. Things like working on the Speedball 2 theme tune, the Kenilworth stuff, first use of actors, professional actors in Megalomania, first use of a sample-only soundtrack on the ST. But then there's other things more recent, like being involved with the BAFTA award-winning theme park world, got the best sound, and also Canon Fodder on the Game Boy Color, which was nominated that year for best soundtrack. That's a Game Boy Color game, and since then there hasn't been any small format game nominated for BAFTA best sound. So I was very proud of that indeed. Because that was just me on my own doing that. Well, except with Jules, of course. We don't talk about nowadays. Thank you.
I can think of about several proud moments. I'm proud in retrospect of stuff really, because I think on a historical basis quite a lot. So I'm proud of Wismore because it was a defining game of the Commodore 64. I'm proud of the Sensible Soccer franchise.